everybody, and welcome back to my podcast. I have one of my friends here. I know I say that all the time, but I don't bring people on that I don't appreciate and love. So, Callie just came home from her mission. How long ago?
I've been home 1 month today.
Oh my gosh, it's an anniversary.
Yes, it is.
So she just barely got home. She was in, remind me where you were. I know you were in the South.
Yes, I was in the Peru Piura mission.
That. Not like the South in America. Anyway.
South America.
Yeah. I was like the South Americas. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Spanish then, right? Or Portuguese?
Spanish.
Mm-hmm. And you can speak it pretty fluently then.
I hope so. Espero que sí.
You're like, oh, más o menos. Well, I have talked to a few missionaries, and they're like, church-wise, I can totally speak fluently, but then just in a random conversation, sometimes I struggle. That's what someone's told me. I don't know if that's accurate. Is that kind of played true for you?
I think that's true. Yeah, I'm in a Spanish class right now, and it's definitely different than mission Spanish. But yeah, living in South America, though, was really awesome because I got to speak it 24/7.
Well, you're just totally immersed, so yeah. Mm-hmm. How often did you have an English companion that you just talked English with?
While I was in Peru, I had 3 English-speaking companions. Yeah.
Okay.
Gringas from the States.
And did you normally speak English with each other, or?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. We'd always set goals, like, we're not going to speak English for this amount of time, but we always ended up speaking English.
Oh, yeah. No, I totally would, because it's like a sense of home, I'd imagine. So, yeah, I'm grateful that at FSY I never, there was no language that I had to learn. Anyway, I got distracted. But yeah, Callie is one of my friends from my first year, or our freshman year of college at SU. We had a Twilight marathon. We played some games, and we just hung out and did some other things. So, anyway, I genuinely and thoroughly enjoyed your emails, just FYI.
Oh, thank you.
I have currently 45 emails right now on my unread that are all missionary emails right now. But I don't want to mark them as read if I haven't read them. And so they're just all there. And sometimes certain people's emails are harder to read than others, if you know what I mean. I always enjoyed reading yours. So just FYI, I feel like you had some depth and you were an interesting and a good writer. I don't know why I said well writer, but you know what I mean. So anyway, I want to just ask you though, Callie, do you want to introduce yourself, kind of tell us who you are as a person, what matters to you?
Yeah, of course. Okay, so yeah, my name's Callie. I'm a junior technically at SUU right now. I came for a year before I went on my mission. So I'm the oldest of 6 kids. I love being outside. I love hiking. I love hunting and running. And pretty much anything outside. I love trying new foods. I love listening to music. Country music is the best. Yes.
I'm remembering from your emails that you were like, I needed to know if God loved me, and I heard this song, and I always love that. Yeah.
I feel like God always speaks to me through music.
That's awesome. I didn't realize we were both the oldest of 6. Did you know that?
I do remember that.
Okay.
Now you say that.
Well, obviously I forgot that part, but hey,
it's okay.
I just learned it again.
Yes.
And I didn't know you liked to hunt. That's kind of fun. Did you do that growing up, or kind of where did your love for it come from?
Yeah, that's something I would always do with my dad growing up. So he's a big hunter, and I would do that a lot with him. Right after I got home from my mission, that was one of the first things I did. We went out to Kentucky where he served his mission, and
that's
we went
so
hunting
tender.
Together. Yeah.
That's so tender. So what would you say has been the hardest transition since coming back? So many things.
I know. It's very different. I'd say like the stress of college life is very different than mission stress.
That's a great point.
Both are very stressful, but in different ways. And so I think it's just been getting used to classes and the schedule and homework. And,
yeah, 100%. What's your major? I'm curious, I forgot.
Oh, yeah. So I decided my major a week ago.
Okay, I was going to say, I'm like, I don't think she had a major
very
originally.
Recently.
It was very, because we had a discussion before you left, and I was like, so when you get back, you're going to have to figure it out.
Yeah.
And you were like, yep.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
So pretty much a week ago, I decided, and I thought about this a little bit on my mission, but that I want to teach Spanish because I love teaching. That was one of my favorite parts of being a missionary. And I love, love, love Spanish. I love the culture. I love the language, the music, everything. And I love learning it. And I think that's what I want to do, is teach Spanish.
That's way cool.
Yeah.
So in what way would you do that then? Like in an elementary school? How does that?
My thoughts are high school, but
Okay.
we'll see. Yeah.
Okay.
So
that would be cute.
Yeah.
So you don't have to do elementary education then, obviously, because it's not elementary. What What's your major then? Spanish?
Spanish education.
Oh, Spanish education. Okay. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yes.
Like major-wise, that makes me sound stupid.
That's okay.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
I just barely found out, so...
Hey, there you go. Hey, that's awesome. I love that. And it's cool because you can kind of tell the backstory of where that came from your own personal experience of being on a mission. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so I told Callie before she came that I was going to ask her some specific questions. And I kind of mentioned that one of my favorite things is stories and storytelling. And I feel like there is no better way to feel the Spirit than with stories. And so my goal in this podcast is to hopefully help you feel the Spirit and get to know Callie a little bit better and maybe be inspired to serve a mission or just reminisce or, I don't know, just enjoy the stories that she has to share. So I have no idea what stories you're going to share, so I'm looking forward to that. I've been thinking about it today. But to first start off, my first question is, why did you choose to go on a mission?
Yes. So this is something that's really special to me. When I was growing up, I was super shy, extremely, extremely shy. Going to school gave me lots of anxiety when I was really little, and talking to anyone was really hard for me. But when I was about 12, my grandparents went on a couple's mission, and they served in San Diego. And I remember when my grandpa got back, I'm really close with my grandpa. He asked me if I would serve a mission one day. And up to that point, I had never even considered it. And he said, Callie, are you going to go on a mission one day? I was like, Grandpa, I will, like you and Grandma did.
Yeah.
And then he said, but are you going to go on your own mission? And it was then that I started thinking about it a little bit.
What age was that?
I was about maybe like 11, 12.
Okay.
Probably like 10 or 11. Because it was when I was 12 that I started really thinking about a mission and started praying about it a lot to see if it was something that would be right for me. And I promised God at that time that if he told me that I needed to serve a mission, that I would do it. And it was in that year that I received my own confirmation that I needed to go on a mission one day. Not that I needed to, but that I would have that blessing.
That was an option, and yeah, that's way cool.
Yeah, and so throughout those years, I just really focused a lot on going on a mission. I feel like it was a great blessing in high school. It was something that always kept me a little bit on track. Obviously, I made lots of mistakes and there were hard times, but having that goal in mind was something that blessed me a lot and really helped me grow closer to the Savior before too.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. I love that. I feel like it's a little bit similar to my story of, family members asking, like, are you going to go on a mission? And alas, I did not, but I am so glad that you chose to go because it sounds like it was awesome, at least in your emails, and really hard, but
yes.
Hard is part of it being awesome.
Exactly.
That's just my opinion, though. Sometimes the hard stuff is what makes something awesome. So anyway, what would you say was your favorite part about being a missionary?
Yeah, this is a hard question. People ask me it all the time, and I feel like there's so many ways that I could answer that question. But I'd say my favorite part of being a missionary was being able to wear the missionary plaque every single day with Christ's name right next to mine and testify of him to
That's
God's
way cool.
children. Every single day testify of Jesus Christ and grow closer to him and watch other people grow closer to him too.
That's way cool. Thank you. Also, this is just a random question that's not on there, but when you were opening your mission call and it said Peru, what went through your mind?
I was so excited, honestly. I was sitting outside the Jordan River Temple, and I opened it by myself in my car.
Did you seriously?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. How did your family feel about that?
They were okay with it.
Okay.
Yeah, at first they were a little
disappointed.
sad, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But I was like, guys, I'll still do something fun with you,
Yeah.
and I'll still open it or whatever. But I did that by myself, and it was really special. And when I read Peru, I had always kind of had this feeling I would learn Spanish on my mission before. And so I had this secret hope that I would go to South America. And so when I read that, I just felt so much peace. I was a little nervous because Peru, Piura, that area I was serving in, is so hot all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And I just am always really hot anyways. Even in the cold, even in the snow here in Cedar, sometimes I'm just sweating. I'm just so hot. And so when I read looked up the weather and everything, and I saw that it was just always going to be summer
crap.
there. Yeah, I was a little nervous about that. But I was so, so excited to serve in Peru.
That's awesome. I love that. Okay, so just moving down my list, what is a funny story about your experience as a missionary?
Yeah, so I was thinking about my funny stories. I have a lot.
Share a couple.
I have a lot. A few of them are pretty embarrassing. So I'm going to share one that I was thinking about this morning. One time I was serving with one of my comps, one of my gringa comps, Hermana Wardell. We were in an area and we had just met this lady and we went into her house for the first time. We were teaching her, feeling the spirit and stuff. And then this guy just came out of nowhere, just came out of the house, and he was really drunk. And he just started talking to me, and I did not understand anything he was saying. And I looked at my comp, and she was like, he is not speaking English or Spanish. And we were like, what is this? And then we realized he was yelling at me in German. And it was so weird. I was like, what? And then he all of a sudden got really upset. He's like, you don't speak German? I was like, no. And it was just so random. But that was one of the fun things about the mission is random things happen all the time. You go into people's houses and you have no idea what's going to happen.
You have no idea. That's awesome. Yeah. So I'm guessing you and your companion laughed about that quite a lot afterwards.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It was pretty funny.
I love that. I would love to hear another one.
Oh, man. Let me think about that. So I was just telling Kyra this story, actually. But it happened towards the end of my mission. I was in the mission home for something, and we were having a Zoom with all the missionaries in the whole mission. And they were like, okay, we need Hermana Woolstenhulme to share her testimony. So I started talking, but what I was saying was being projected onto the wall with like a big speaker. And so I could hear the echo of my voice, and it tripped me up. And I literally didn't know what to say. I just like stared at the phone for a minute. And then the only thing I could think to say was, I just love all of you so much. And then I saw this one elder's face. He was like, what? and then I was just super embarrassed and my mind just stopped and I couldn't think of anything else to say. And I don't even know what I shared in that testimony, but that was a funny, embarrassing time.
It probably came straight from your heart.
Oh, yes, I do love them all.
So I'm a little bit just checking. So it was like an echo. So it wasn't as you were speaking it. It was
it was after. Like I'd say something and then I would hear it, and so it's just.
Yeah. See, I don't feel like this is tripping me up because it's live. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The sound of the podcast. But yeah, it kind of reminds me of in choir sometimes you sing and you can hear the echo and it's like behind. And you're like,
throws you off a little.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love those stories. Thank you for sharing them. Mm-hmm. I feel like if there wasn't laughter in life, we just wouldn't be able to do it.
It's so true.
And so I'm sure that Heavenly Father was constantly with you through laughter, you know, because when you can lighten the mood or something happens that makes you laugh and you're having a bad day, I just feel like things are just easier. Mm-hmm. Would you say that was kind of the case for you? Oh,
it's so true. I think that's one of the biggest things I learned on my mission was to just have joy in life, to just laugh and have fun.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
My mission president would always say this, to do a serious job without taking yourself so seriously.
Oh, that's so tender.
Just enjoy life, and I found so much joy on my mission. I ate so much ice cream, had little parties. It was so fun.
I was going to say, this is super random, but I just tend to laugh at everything. I think everything's hilarious. And the other day I was at work, and I work through the night, and at like 3 a.m. I went outside, and there was 5 deer in the middle of the road. Mm-hmm. And I was like going to a different house because I have to check houses anyway. And the deer saw me and they just like pranced away. And it was the cutest, funnest, weirdest thing. And I just started laughing out loud, like so loud. And it was like 3 a.m. So I'm sure if someone saw me, which they didn't, but I'm sure if someone did, they were like, oh my gosh, what is that girl on?
That's so fun.
These deer just started prancing away, and I was like, they're so cute. Anyway, so yeah, I just feel like laughing at the little things is important. So I love that you took a serious job not seriously. That doesn't sound right. Anyway.
Yeah, I gotcha.
I know what you're saying, and I hope you know what I'm saying. Okay, the next thing, do you ever have an experience where the Lord gave you a prompting, very distinct prompting, and you acted upon it? What was that experience like, and would you like to tell the story, or would you be willing to tell a story?
Yeah, that's something I learned a lot also on my mission. There's a lot of things I learned, but that was one of my favorite things. In my very first transfer, my trainer taught me a lot, that just always to say yes, Spirit. Even if it's the slightest prompting, even if you don't even know if it's a prompting, it's just thought, oh, we can knock that door, just do it. Mm-hmm. And so in my second transfer, there was one night that I was tracting with my second trainer, and we were in this apartment complex, And we were kind of feeling like we should leave. We were like, there's not really anything happening. No one was answering. But then my comp got the prompting to stay a little bit longer. She's like, let's just knock the doors on the backside. So we went over there and knocked, and nothing happened, and we were leaving. And while we were leaving, I looked over and I saw apartment G. And right when I saw it, I had a very strong feeling, let's knock that door. And so we knocked it, and Debbie answered. And at first, she didn't seem super interested in talking to us. But then we complimented her nails. She had long, pretty nails. And after that, next thing we knew, she was crying with us on the porch, telling us that right before we had knocked, she was washing her dishes. And she had been alone, and she was just crying by herself and praying to God that she hadn't felt him in a long time. And it was in that exact moment that we knocked. And when we stood and talked to her, I felt the Spirit so strong that God loved Debbie and that he knew her, and that the whole purpose in us staying in that apartment complex for a little bit longer was to knock in the right moment just so that she could feel that love. And after that, we tried to keep teaching Debbie, but it just wasn't the right timing for her. She wasn't super interested. But I'll always remember the Spirit that we felt on her porch that night, just telling her how much her Father in heaven loves her and knows her.
Wow. I'm such a crybaby, so I have like tears going down my eyes. That's so beautiful. I have just been thinking, if you're not a member, I'm sure one of the things you were wondering, or even if you are a member, sometimes maybe you're curious, what is that even like to get a prompting from the Spirit? So what would you say it's like for you? And then I can kind of share what it's like for me. Or maybe I can go first. What would you rather? I don't care.
I can share.
Okay.
I think that for me, lots of times it comes in different ways. And lots of times for me, it's not even anything very strong that I feel. It's just kind of a thought more than anything else.
100%.
I should do this. Like right now, lots of times it's a thought of, I should text this person, this friend, or it's usually something very small. So I think that's the biggest thing with the prompting. Like even that thought there was, we should just knock this door.
Yeah.
And we did, and great things came from it. I think anything that is good comes from God.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't know what the heck is going on. There's like background noise. So if you can hear that, I'm sorry. Someone's making noise. Anyway, I would say for me, it's very similar. At FSY, I had some crazy experiences that I can tell you about later. Some like genuinely crazy stories. And if you've listened on the podcast, I've recorded all of them, all the crazy stories at least. But I feel like there was a lot of times where things would just come to mind and I would just do it. And then something would happen and I'm like, oh, that was a prompting, you know? And I feel like when you're in tune and you just do whatever your mind tells you to do, I mean, good things, then it's probably from God. And I feel like that happened to me at FSY, specifically in Ephraim, Utah, actually. I was there for 3 weeks. And literally anything that came to mind ever, I just did it. And there was a lot of really cool things that happened that I'm like, I have no idea how that happened. Stuff like that. And then there were other promptings where it was like my heart was beating out of my chest and it was like either speak now or forever hold your peace, you know. But yeah, I would say a lot of times promptings were just kind of a thought that popped into my head and I was like, all right, let's do it, you know. I like that you said yes, Spirit, like, okay, yes, let's do it. So that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Appreciate that. Do you have a funny story or a spiritual story or an informative story? I guess this is just like a bonus. Do you have a story to share that you'd like to share?
Yes, I do. I would love to share a story about my friend Alita.
Perfect.
Because she was probably one of the greatest miracles that I saw on my mission. And like I was sharing in that story with Debbie, something I loved about being a missionary was just seeing the love that God has for his children. He loves his children so, so much, and he knows them. And his plan for each of us is perfect. And that's what I saw when I met Alita. She was someone, a reference that we had received from the elders that were serving close to us. They had met her one day where she worked. She worked in the market selling little drinks and things like that. So they sent us her number. We went to her house and we met her. She lived in something called the habitación, which is just a room, nothing more than just a little room. And we couldn't go in there with her. There wasn't even really enough space. So we all went and sat in the hallway of that place she was living, and it was pretty dark, and there were all these crickets jumping all over us, and we just got these plastic chairs, and we sat there and in that dark hallway together, me and my comp and Alita. I was with my comp, Hermana Steele, at that time, and when we sat down and started talking to Alita, we could feel a very special spirit She was about 70 years old, and she was from Venezuela. She had been in Peru for just a few months. She told us her story. She met the sister missionaries in Venezuela 4 years before that. And when she met them, she instantly knew that this was the true church, that this was the Church of Jesus Christ. She told us how those sisters took her to church, taught her about baptism, gave her a book, a special blue book, and she was going to get baptized there, but in that exact time she had to leave the country. So she went to Colombia. She took her book with her, but she lost contact with the sisters. In Colombia, she looked for our church. She passed by it lots of times. She found it, but there was never anybody in there, she said. Every time she passed by, it was just bad timing or something, because she was never able to get in contact with missionaries in Colombia. While she was there, she was also robbed of everything she had, all her documents. And she told us that the thing that she was saddest about losing was the blue book that the sisters had given her. And she told us that book was really special because she felt the Spirit a lot when she read it, and because the sisters had written their testimony with their names in the front of it.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
Why would someone steal that?
Right. It was very hard for her. And she made it to Peru and had been there for a few months when she finally saw the missionaries walk past. And so she reached out to them and said, "Hey, are you missionaries for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints?" They said yes, and she gave them her information.
I'm sure for them they were like, yes!
Let's go. Yeah. And then lucky for us, she lived in our area, so we got to teach her. And as we sat there with her in that apartment and she shared her story, I felt such a special spirit in my heart. And when she told us about the blue book that was so important to her, I pulled out a Book of Mormon from my bag, and it was one that we had written our testimonies in that morning.
Was it blue?
It was. It was a blue Book of Mormon.
Because they come in different colors.
I guess it's navy. Yeah. But it was that book, and with our testimonies that we had written with our names in it for Alita. And as I pulled it out, I said, "Is this the book that you lost, that the sisters had given to you?" And she got the biggest smile on her face, and she said, "That's the book." And when she took it from my hands, just tears filled all of our eyes. And she told us that she knew that that book was true. Something really special that she said was, she said that in her life she had gone through very, very difficult things. Trials that I personally can't even imagine. And she told us that there were lots of times where she wondered what her purpose was here on earth. And she wondered even if it would have been better for her to never have been born at all because of the pain that she had passed through in her life. But she said that 4 years earlier, when the sisters had met her and given her that book, that she was able to find a greater understanding of God's love in her life, that she knew why she was here, that all of the trials that she had gone through in her life had a great purpose to them. And even though she wasn't able to be baptized at that time when she wanted to be, even though she lost her Book of Mormon and passed through such difficult times, when we met her, she was a very happy person. And she said that it was from the joy that she had found from the Book of Mormon when she had read it 4 years before. And she was such a special person. As she testified of the Book of Mormon, we were all able to share our testimonies too. I was able to testify that I also know that that book is true. That through the Book of Mormon, I've found personal peace and come to know my Savior, Jesus Christ. And Alita was able to come to church, and she was baptized about 2 weeks later.
That's awesome.
And since then, she has not missed a single week at church.
Oh my gosh.
She is the most faithful member I've ever met. And it's because of the joy that she's felt. She's truly been converted to Christ. And she's sharing the gospel with other people, and she has a calling in the primary. And
That's awesome.
She's so amazing and someone who has inspired me and honestly changed my life in the way that I see the love that God has for his children and his timing and his plan for each one of us.
That's incredible. Thank you for sharing that. So I'm curious, and this is kind of a question to maybe connect a little bit. Would you say one of the hardest parts about coming home is missing those people and not having contact with them? Mm-hmm. Do you have contact with her at all? Or
I know that somewhere I have her number. So that is one of my goals, is to get in contact with her super soon. I actually ran into her at the very end of my mission, and that was just another time that God showed me that he loved me, because I was able to get her number. But that was one of the really hard things about the mission, was ending it. It was really, really hard, because I loved being a missionary with my entire heart. It was probably the hardest thing I've ever done, and there were really lonely times where I felt the most anxiety I've ever felt in my life and the greatest sadness I've ever felt in my life, but also the greatest personal peace and joy more than I could have ever imagined. I loved being a missionary, and I love the people in Peru with my entire heart. They're the best people ever, and I miss them a lot, but I'm so grateful for those friendships I made, and I know and trust that they're eternal friendships too. And that's the beauty of God's plan.
That's something that I love so much, because as an FSY counselor, you meet these youth and you get to be with them for 1 week, and then that's it, and you don't get to see them again. And it's just, some people are like, oh, that was a fun week, but for me, I'm like, my friends, they're gone. And so not being able to see them every day is heart-wrenching sometimes. Mm-hmm. And I was really, really, really sad after one particular week. And I was talking to a friend about how much I missed them and how it was just heart-wrenching and heartbreaking. And she said when she came home from her mission, she was pretty sad about just missing the place and the people and the atmosphere and things like that. And she was able to get a father's blessing. And in the blessing, it said that the sadness she was feeling was a righteous sadness, because she had done her job right and she had done what the Lord had asked her to do. And I have thought about that a few different times, of feeling the sadness of just missing it, just missing being there, missing the people, missing, the youth and things like that. And so I like imagining and understanding that the sadness is a righteous sadness because, we did our jobs right. And so I can imagine that meeting people where just taught you so much and saying goodbye was probably pretty hard. So, definitely. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Oh, no, I don't know. I think it's true. And I honestly, personally consider all of the trials and the sadness and all of that I faced on my mission as one of the greatest blessings of my mission. Because I think that's what truly has changed me and truly helped me to rely on Jesus Christ more and see the power of his atonement, knowing that there's no sadness that I feel, have felt, or ever will feel that he hasn't already felt, and that he can always help me through that, and that he's always with me.
That's awesome. So then, to kind of wrap it up before we do our quote and our word, my last question, my most important question, is how did your relationship with the Savior grow while as a missionary?
Yeah, my relationship with Jesus Christ grew a lot as a missionary. When I left on my mission, I knew 100% that he lives, that he loves me. And I had a lot of special experiences in my life that confirmed that. But being a missionary was something that changed and strengthened my relationship with him even more. Like I kind of said at the beginning, one of my favorite things was wearing the tag every single day. And being able to be a representative, okay, yes, of Jesus Christ.
Don't worry, I do that all the time.
Sometimes I don't know if I'm thinking in English or Spanish a little bit, and I was like,
that's so funny.
Yeah, but being a representative of Jesus Christ was something that I loved so much. I loved testifying of him to the people every single day. I felt him truly change me, soften my heart. There were a lot of times in my mission where maybe I had personal questions or struggles that I was going through, and I could feel that he was softening my heart and giving me peace and understanding that I needed at that time. I also felt like he never left me alone, even in the hardest times. There were a lot of times on my mission where I'd pass through times where I felt really numb, and it was super hard for me. I could be teaching a lesson, I could be with other missionaries, and I would feel so alone. But I found great peace in knowing that I never was, ever, and I never will be. Because I truly just have a testimony that Jesus Christ lives, that he loves us, that he understands us, and that he's always with us. And I feel like that's one of the greatest ways that I grew as a person on my mission, was just seeing that manifested every single day over and over again. And just knowing without a doubt that it's true.
That's awesome, Callie. I really admire you, and that's freaking awesome. So thank you. I love that. I don't have anything to add because that was just, it's awesome. So for the word of the day today, I had Callie pick one out. It is equanimity or equanimity. equanimity. I don't know how to say it, but it's fine. Equanimity, I'm going to go with. It's a noun, and it means mental calmness, composure, and evenness of temper, especially in a difficult situation. And so I'm sure as a missionary, you had to have equanimity all the time. Have mental calmness, composure, especially in a difficult situation. Probably when that guy in German was yelling at you. You were like, equanimity.
Oh, yes, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I know that's exactly what you're thinking. Yeah, that's the word of the day today. So hopefully you guys can remember that word. I'll probably forget it tomorrow, but I'm going to try to remember it. Yes, and maybe use it in a sentence in this next week, just for fun. Callie, will you read the quote of the day for today?
Yes, of course. So this is a quote by Dieter F. Uchtdorf. And it says, "As we extend our hands and hearts towards others in Christ-like love, something wonderful happens to us. Our own spirits become healed, more refined, and stronger."
That's awesome. Thanks, Callie. Do you have any final words for us? Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. Any final thoughts you want to leave?
I just love all of you so much. But it's true, I do.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
I just do, and I just want to say that God loves you so much. Never forget that you're his child. His timing is perfect. His plan is perfect for you. Jesus loves you. He understands you. One of my favorite things to do as a missionary was always invite people. That's something we do every single day, over and over again, is extend invitations. So I guess I just want to invite all of you who are listening to look for Christ in your life today and every single day, and just recognize his hand and recognize the little things, the little promptings, the miracles, and also those big things, those big moments where you can really feel his love in your life. And I promise that as you do, you'll be able to see it more times than you can count every single day.
That's awesome. Thank you, Callie. I'm not going to add anything to that other than my little closing statement, because it was just so perfect. Thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget to embrace imperfection, find meaning, satisfaction, and joy from the journey. I'm Kyra.
I'm Callie.
And this is Imperfectly Broken, the podcast.